What? You said I didn't stick to my February TBR? You right. Hey y'all, welcome in or welcome back to my channel. My name is Artrice if you are new here, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books I read in February that I did not plan on reading in February, but did. So let's get into it. The first book that I read in February was Party of Two by Jasmine Gilroy. This is the 5th book in the Wedding Date series, and we are following Olivia Monroe and Max Powell, who is a senator, and we're basically just following them fall in love. I gave this book 2.5 stars, but I uprated it on Goodreads to 3 stars. I feel like it was just okay. I don't know how realistic the main character's love was for me. And the third act breakup was really stupid. I feel like a lot of their misunderstandings stem from communication problems, and it just made me question, like, these people are supposed to be in their 40s. You guys still don't know how to do basic communication? I was iffy on continuing the series, but I already saw the cover for the 6th book in the series, and it looked really interesting, so I may end up reading that one, probably. Next, I read a series by Alexandra House called Them Boys. The first one is Set. The second one is Jaw, and the third one is Shoe. These are novellas, and they're erotic romances, and it was really cute. It's actually kind of funny because I rated both the first and second book in the series 5 stars, and I rated the last book 3 stars. It didn't really do it for me like the other two. I just felt like it kind of fell flat a little bit. But if you like a lot of smut, if you like a lot of steamy scenes and a little bit of hood sprinkled in, you should definitely check out this series. Next, I read Deeper by Risley Adams. This is a extended epilogue, if you will, of her book Go Deep, and I gave it 3 stars for what it was. It was cute. Do I feel like the first book needed this book? No, but it's fine, I guess. It's just about a couple getting married and being in love. That's basically what Deeper is about. Next, I read another series by Alexandra House. This one was the Strickland Sisters series, another 3, like a trilogy book situation. I gave the first book 3.5 stars, the second book 3 stars, and the third book 2 stars. Again, it was the same thing. I don't know if this is a trend with Alexandra House and me, but when I read her series and her trilogies, it's like progressively the books get worse for me as I keep reading. But I did enjoy the smutty scenes. I enjoyed the romance aspect of this book. Again, it's an erotic romance. You are following characters falling in love. And this one is surrounding sisters. The first book in the series is called Stay With Me. The second book is Believe in Me. And the third book is Be With Me. I don't really have much to say about them. They're cute, they're smutty, they're a little bit of hood sprinkled in there. It was fine. Next is probably one of my most disappointing reads of the year. I know that's a bold statement. Don't quote me on it come December 2021. But this book really disappointed me. And that is This Close to Okay by Lisa Cross Smith. As you can see, I have a physical copy of this that I pre-ordered with my money, with my coin, because it was on my top 21 anticipated reads for 2021. And I gave it 2 stars. And that's being generous because the technicality of the writing, there was nothing wrong with the writing in this book. Why did I give this 2 stars? I feel like it should get 1 star, maybe 1.5 star. I feel like I was just being nice on Goodreads. I don't know. I really didn't like this book. I think I was expecting a deeper novel about suicide and depression. I thought it was going to spark conversations and feelings. I thought it was going to be a lot more emotional and invigorating, but it wasn't. It wasn't any of that. I felt like this book was really preachy. I've read books that have talked about like Christianity and like scriptures and things like that, but for some reason when I was reading this one, it felt really like in your face, like really preachy, like really like and I was uncomfortable. Also, there were some things that the characters would say that I kind of felt like were Lisa Cross Smith's own views that she put into these characters, and it just wasn't a vibe. Like, it was really confusing when I first started reading, like, the first 80 pages. Even before that, I was really confused, and I was just kind of like, this not it. And I probably wouldn't have finished reading this if I hadn't pre-ordered it and bought it with my own coin again. So I did finish this book. Like I said, I gave it 2 stars. I honestly don't know if I would recommend this book to anybody, because I don't think it handled suicide correctly. I don't think it handled suicidal thoughts correctly. I don't think it handled depression correctly at all. I feel like what the 2 characters ended up doing over this weekend was really toxic, and I felt like it was unnecessary as well. I felt like Lisa Cross-Smith could have did so much with this book, with this plot, and it really just fell all the way types of flat for me. But on the whole other side of the scale, next I read Love is a Revolution by Renee Watson. I gave this one 5 stars. And this is a YA romance / contemporary fiction, I would say. And when I originally started reading it, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it too much, because it is about teenagers. It is a YA. The main character is a shallow teenager, and but the character development in this, A1. And I really love the overall message of the book. I love how Nala, the main character, learned how to love herself and learned who she was, who her authentic self was, and learned how to show up as her anywhere that she went, and to own it, and to not be afraid of it, or to not be shy about it. And it was really great. The love interest, the love aspect of this, I feel like it's not the main point of this book, the romance part of it. It's kind of sort of in the background. It's kind of there to aid Nala in learning who she is and loving herself. So I did appreciate that. I really loved the ending. It kind of made me emotional a little bit. And the writing, of course, is amazing, because Renee Watson knows how to write her butt off. So yeah, this book got 5 stars. Next, I read Once Ghosted, Twice Shy by Alyssa Cole. This is a novella in her Reluctant World series, in between the 2nd book and the 3rd book, I believe it is. We're following 2 women, and what happened was they met up one time on a date from like a dating app, and they had a really strong connection and a lot of sexual chemistry, and they ended up like hanging out for the whole weekend. And then once the weekend was over, one of them ghosted the other ones, and now it's been like a couple months, I think, and they see each other again and they want a second chance. So it was cute. I gave this 3 stars. I felt like they were 2 beautiful, really confident Black women, and it was a beautiful thing to read. Next, I read Grumpy Jake by Melissa Blue. This was a romance. It was a rom-com. I gave this one 4 stars. So in this one, we are following Bailey, who is a kindergarten teacher, and Jake, whose son is enrolled in her kindergarten class. And they get stuck in an elevator one day, and they're forced to talk and get to know each other. And obviously they're attracted to each other, and romance. I love books with kids in them, or like babies. I love a medium family trope, I think is what it's called, where like one person has a baby already and then the other person comes in and they just kind of join together in family wonderfulness. The side characters in this definitely aided in how much I love this story. I feel like they were all hilarious and they progressed with the story nicely. I loved the main characters' personalities. I loved how they were together. They were hilarious. I loved how they, you know, worked through their problems. It was really cute. It gave me feels, and that's all I need in a romance. I'm not doing a very good job. How do people usually do rom-coms? I don't know. Next, I read Someone, which is a novella by Kendra Danielle. This one was an enemies to lovers, and Colton is starting a new job at his father's business, and he has a crush on one of his employees who is quitting. And she does not like him because of something that happened in college, which he doesn't remember because he used to play football and he had a really bad injury that gave him a concussion and he forgot a lot of things. And so it's them kind of rekindling and figuring things out anew. And it was cute. I really liked it. I gave this one 4 stars. I felt like none of the characters were flat, even the side characters, which is important to me. I love good side characters. I think Whitney and Colton's relationship developed really well and was very believable, and I was rooting for them, which was good. I also thought the pacing was really good, and the epilogue was like icing on the cake. beautiful. And I also think this was the author's first book, because I didn't see any other. When I clicked on her profile, I didn't see any other books. I think this is her first one. But I think that this author is definitely headed on the right track to do really good rom-coms, because this made me laugh so much. Next, I read Redemption by Kenya Wright. This I would consider a dark romance because it deals with some really, really dark themes like domestic violence. We have two main characters, one who is fleeing a really horrible situation with her 3 kids, and she ends up stranded in front of this person's house, and he takes them in. This is definitely a slow burn romance, and I actually really loved it, because usually I don't know how I feel about slow burns, because I'm like a get to the action type of girl. Like, you like me, I like you, stop playing and let's go, you know, get married. But I felt like it was handled really well and very realistic. Yoshiro was so patient with Ebony, and I love the family aspect of it with the kids. There are dogs who know how to rap. Like, this book was just so cute and everything, and I would definitely reread it. Also, there was illustrations within the book. Just wow, just wonderful. Just read it. I recommend this book to everybody. I recommended this to my sister who doesn't even like romance books, and she was intrigued. So that says a lot. I gave Redemption 4 stars, if I didn't already say. Really, really liked it. I'm definitely going to be rereading it. So I was on a Kenya Wright kick, right? Because I love Redemption. So I picked up one of her other books, When the Smoke Clears, which is a firefighter romance. And I gave this one 2 stars. I didn't like this one. It also deals with really dark topics. Not necessarily the main characters personally engaging in those acts, but people who are really close to the main characters are dealing with some really dark and heavy things. And I didn't like how it was handled in this one, because I feel like one scene would be really, really dark, and then the next chapter would be like a sex scene, and I'm just like, you expect me to just be in the mood after reading about that? Like, no, it doesn't work like that. I can't do that. No. Also, the ending of this book really felt flat for me, and I didn't feel like the romance aspect of this was believable at all, because I don't think the characters got enough time together in that intimate way, getting to know each other, falling for each other, which is sad because the whole book is basically them on page being together. And I still felt like something wasn't jiving right. The ending felt awkward for me. I won't spoil anything, but something happened and I just kind of felt like it shouldn't have happened, basically. Also, the female main character in this is a writer, and so she is writing a book during this whole time, and we get snippets of her book in between the chapters. And I don't know if I felt like it was really necessary. The entire plot of her having writer's block and her getting help with said writer's block and her story snippets, I almost felt like it was part of another story, and the male main character's story was another book, and she just put them together because the female main character's plot was like almost a little fantastical. Even the story that she was writing had like some fantasy elements to it, and I don't know, it just wasn't meshing for me. The smut was smutty though, if that's all you care about, you know, there's that. Next, I read Lakewood by Megan Giddings. This one I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. This is a thriller, if you didn't know. We're following Lena, and she's trying to work off her debt. She gets asked to go to an experiment, and at this experiment she realizes that there's something more sinister going on. I really enjoyed the way that Megan Giddings wrote this book. I feel like all of the situations that Lena was in, we were feeling the same way that she was feeling. It was chaotic, it was crazy, it was confusing, it was, you know, dark and depressing and scary and unsettling. And I feel like Megan Giddings wrote all of that in here so well that I was feeling like that, you know? If Lena had a blackout, we had a blackout. We were really like in Lena's head, and I appreciated that a lot while I was reading this, because I think it aided in the fact that this is a thriller, and the topic that it was discussing is really important, and it's something that has happened historically here, definitely in America, where Black people have been experimented on without their consent, and things have happened to them that are unexplained and never righted. And this book kind of has a, I don't want to say an ambiguous ending, but it's not very straightforward type of situation. But I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend this book to anybody, everyone. read it. Next, I read another Can You Write book. I told you I was on a roll. I was on a roll. This book was a paranormal... Oh, man. Anyhow, this book is a paranormal romance called Seduced by Moonlight. This is the first book in the Love, Death, and Magic series. This is the only book, I believe. I don't know when she's going to come out with the next book, but I will be reading it because I gave this book 4 stars. This book was so good. I love a werewolf romance. I love a werewolf romance. The whole mate trope and like the smell thing. Even though sometimes I was a little cringy, you know, like werewolves can hear everything and they can, you know, it's kind of like put some earmuffs on or something, you know? Anywho, I'm rambling. Yes, this one, we are following Imani, and she was working at a restaurant as like a waitress. As she's working in the restaurant, a wolf pack comes in unbeknownst to her, and the alpha wolf, Aiden, is like having a reaction to her. And he can't get her out of his mind, and he's obsessed with the way she smells, and he just wants to touch her, and yada 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 yada. That's his mate, you know? I love this book. I love how close the wolf pack was together. They were like a family, you know, even though they've all come from different places and they have different backgrounds, it was like a family. Also, this book has a lot of paranormal lore in it, vampires, witches, and there's a backstory behind it all. And I love that Can You Write came up with her own backstory of it. It wasn't like the usual story of vampires and where they came from and witches and how they started. It was like a whole different world, and I love that. There are also illustrations in this one. I really need to find out who did the illustrations because they did a fantastic job. Oh, and okay, so the wolf aspect of this is so cute as well because he's like his own person and he has his own relationship with Imani, and it's just, it was really cute and it was really sexy too. Next, I read A Phoenix First Must Burn, edited by Patrice Caldwell. This is an anthology of Black girl magic meets sci-fi, fantasy, magical realism. This was everything. There are 16 short stories in this book, and it was my goal to read a story a day for February, and that's basically what I did. I missed a couple of days. We're not gonna talk about it. This was so good. I tabbed this up. If you can see, I have my little key here for any quotes that like I want to remember, anything that was like really powerful, stuck out to me. I did like that purple. Anything that made me sad, I did blue. And anything that made me happy or that was funny, I did green. There wasn't that many in here that made me sad. There's a lot of really powerful quotes in this book, and it was just so good. Also, the singer A-Marie has a story in here, and it was so good. And I was like, since when did she write books? What? I recommend this book to any and everybody. I give this 5 stars. It's queer, it's inclusive. Not every story in this is queer, I will say that. There are a couple non-queer stories in this, but majority is queer. And it was so cute. Definitely female-centered, woman-centered, girl-centered. It was precious. It was adorable. So some of my favorites in this was All the Time in the World. Tender-Headed was so good. Let the Right One In. It was about vampires. Hearts Turn to Ash. The Goddess Provides. That also got 5 stars from me. Gilded. Those are the 5-star story ratings I had. Majority of them were 5, 4, 3. There was a couple that were 2 for me, mainly because I just didn't resonate, I guess, with them, or it just kind of flew over my head. But majority of the stories in here I loved, and I would still recommend it to everybody because somebody else may resonate with this. I think this book is very relatable, and a lot of people will find comfort in one of the stories in here, if not all of them. So yeah, 5 out of 5 would recommend. Pick this one up in your collection. It's definitely something that you can reread as well, I think, because all the stories are so different and unique, even though they all have the same theme of being sci-fi and fantasy related. Really good, really good. Next, I read How to Catch a Queen by Alyssa Cole. This is the first book in her Runaway Royals series, and in this one we are following Sanyu and his bride Shanti. They kind of have an arranged marriage situation, and usually in his country the bride only stays for 4 months and then she leaves. And he doesn't believe in love, and neither does Shanti, and she is trying to desperately prove that she can be a queen, which is her lifetime goal. and it's about them getting to know each other, first of all, forming a partnership, and then eventually falling in love. And I give this book 4 stars. The reason why I give this book 4 stars is because I love a redemption moment. I love when a character is kind of painted as a antagonist, as a villain, and they are willing to put in the work, they apologize, they reconcile, and they move forward together as a family because they never stop loving each other. And I love that they talked about therapy in this. They didn't just talk about the emotional abuse and then move on and then happily ever after. You know, they talked about therapy, they talked about how they can make things right again, and really the epilogue sold me because I love a redemption moment, and it just made me feel really good inside to see this loving family together finally, you know, after all this time. I feel like the character development was really A1 in this one. It was cute. Next, I read A Duke, a Lady, and a Baby by Vanessa Riley. This is a historical romance fiction. I gave this 2 stars, which is kind of generous, actually. It should probably be more like 1 star. This is about a widower whose husband apparently died by suicide, and she is arrested and sentenced to a mental institution, and she has been separated from her baby boy, and she is desperately trying to get back to him so that she can take him back to her home in Demerara, I believe it is, a Caribbean island. And so she agrees to this ruse where she will pose as a nanny in order to get near her son until she has time to prove her innocence so that she can get her son and go. But the Duke that is taking over her deceased husband's finances and assets is his cousin, actually, and it is a romance about them falling in love. And I didn't like this. I didn't like the writing in this at all. I've read historical fiction romance specifically before, and I really enjoyed it. The series I read, I feel like the writer did a really good job of maintaining the language of the time period, but also using some creative license to jazz it up, make it more entertaining, make it funny, make it sexy. And I feel like this was not that. The scenes were kind of fragmented and they didn't flow seamlessly together. I didn't understand where the characters were walking to in a house. I didn't know if they were on the balcony one second and then next they were underneath the chandelier, and it was just really, I don't know, the writing was just kind of not flowing together easily. It wasn't very descriptive in a way that I felt present in the book. Also, the romance between the two of them, I just felt like it wasn't very realistic. And not to say that she couldn't fall in love with her dead husband's cousin if she wanted to, but I just felt like there was no chemistry between them. The last 2 books are by Alexandra Warren. It is a part of a series. The first book is Oops, and then there's a novella, 1.5, that is called Whoa. The first book, Oops, we are following Cameron and Maverick, and there's basically a accidental pregnancy that happens after a one-night stand. Cameron does not like Maverick at all. It's kind of like an enemies to soon-to-be parents to lovers. And it was really cute watching them fall in love while they're also dealing with the pregnancy and learning about their baby and navigating through that and how having to be new parents accidentally. I felt like it was really cute. I felt like the sex scenes were everything. They were fire. I'm not one of those people who hates accidental pregnancies in romance books. I don't mind them. The novella follows Maverick's twin sister Melinda and DJ Woe, aka Walter. Really, it's Walter, aka DJ Woe. And their love story also kind of starting with a blind date and blossoming into so much more. Again, the epilogue of this was just so precious and so cute. And I love the character development of this. Melinda has that independent woman thing going on. Walter is so very attentive and helpful and sexy, and yeah, it was cute. I gave both of those books 4 stars. Those were all the books that I read in February. I know if you saw my February TBR, you're like, girl, you did not read none of the books on your initial TBR. And I know I really need to be released from the binds of Kindle Unlimited. That's what I need to be. Yeah. I should just unsubscribe, but I don't want to. Hopefully I have a better time next month, but I really enjoyed reading books by only Black authors this month. Leave me a like if you like this type of video, and subscribe to my channel. If you made it all the way to the end, you might as well. like what you see here. If you made it this far in the video, you're a real one and I'm rocking with you. Leave me that cookie emoji down below. And until next time, y'all, peace and love.